All right, I'm going to make a statement about a social issue, and I think it's as relevant to fitness. You know, we've got this whole, after this election, we have this whole Make America Healthy Again movement. And while I don't agree with all of it, I do agree with certain portions of it. I really and truly do. And I think this is kind of a golden opportunity for all of us in the fitness world, lifting world, nutrition world, to step up and say, okay, let's do this. Let's take this seriously. If we're going to see these sort of things push for health reform, for creating a better environment for our children, we have to talk about these things. And I'm going to say one of the best things we could possibly do with some of this is, again, getting our children off refined sugar. Okay. If we could make one step moving in the right direction, I'm going to say that's up there. That is definitely up there. Because again, I've seen it said with some of this, look, we've got to deal with all these ultra processed foods and everything. But what's one of the things that makes a lot of these foods ultra processed? It's all the refined sugar in there. Okay, and when I say that, I've done a lot of videos on fructose metabolism, refined sugars. I'm not talking about because of the insulin spike. I'm not talking about glucose. You say that people say, oh, well, some people, are you going to be anti-glucose? I'm not anti-glucose. That's not the problem with it. And everyone who's educated on the matter knows that that's not the problem with it. So stop using that. Okay, so I would say to those people, don't rope me into that category, guys. It is about the fructose. It is the fructose reaching the bloodstream, which doesn't happen with things like fruit to the same extent. Okay, totally different animal because of the entire digestion process. But the refined sugars that these kids are getting are going to have lifelong negative effects. Okay, and there's a lot of data now coming along showing that refined fructose seems to be possibly the largest driver of obesity. Okay, we know that that's then a potential driver of cancer, a driver of diabetes. Am I saying it's the only factor? Absolutely not. I'm not saying it's the only factor, but is it a big one? And are there leading researchers at this point saying it looks to be the largest one? Now, it's still possible to develop these things without refined sugar. So we need to make that clear. It is possible, but the likelihood goes down like 90 or 95%. Okay? It's possible, but it's absurdly rare. And it can still happen. I mean, I could create an environment where we could do that. But let's step back and let's talk about the reality of it. This is what causes the problems. Kids get hooked on sweets. They develop a sweet tooth. They need all this refined sugars all the time to continue to handle that. And they're given it nonstop, all the sodas, all the candy, all the sweets. And again, that by itself doesn't cause obesity. It's in the presence of large amounts of fat added with it, usually refined fats. I get that. But the fructose itself from all those sugars, even from the drinks, is absolutely having an effect on their metabolic health. It's absolutely having an effect on their palatability, their food cravings. There's a lot of problems here with it causing insulin resistance, contributing to fatty liver. Okay, it is that combination when we start combining it, though, into a high-fat diet on top of it, that combination is bad. But if you get rid of one of the factors, it goes away. And this is an easier one to get rid of because kids are not as likely to overbinge on just on the fatty foods to the same degree that they are the sweets. It's just a different dopamine hit. So yeah, we need to get this out of the system. And I would say a good start would be, look, if we're going to talk about this seriously, we need to ban refined sugars in schools. That includes fruit juices with refined sugars added. Okay, if they want to give them fruit juice, it can be orange juice or apple juice made from real fruit. Otherwise, when you get it, I'm not saying cut all sugars. I'm not saying milk and all that's a problem. We're talking specifically table sugar, high fructose corn syrup. Get them out of the schools. There's a start. I mean, if we want an initiative to start making America healthy again, because this current generation of people may be somewhat lost. The lifetime of bad habits, it's hard to fix. But we can save this next generation of children. Okay? We can. Now, some of that's going to have to include this whole fat acceptance movement going away because, yeah, that's a problem. Okay? So again, both sides of the aisle have some problems here. But the refined sugar is an issue. Absolutely get it out of the schools. Completely ban it in schools. Can't bring it in. Not in the school lunches. Not in the vending machines. Okay? Now, I don't know that we can really ban parents from bringing it in, but there's our first step. Also, maybe we need to have an education talk. Maybe we need to have better initiatives to talk to parents about, hey, you probably shouldn't be giving this to your kids. Find alternatives. Give them a diet soda then. And I'm sorry, you can argue all you want about aspartame, but the data is overwhelming. Table sugar, high fructose corn syrup, 1,000 times worse by any measurable metric. Is not even comparable. So if you got to pick between the two, this is an easy choice. It's a no-brainer. Okay? But yeah, all the refined sugars. And notice I am not saying the word sugar. I'm saying refined sugars every time. I want that to sink in this conversation. You remove that part of the phrase, and I'm not gonna support it. And it's not what I'm saying. Okay. There's part of your solution. Do we need to have a serious talk about, and people aren't going to like this, I mean, if we want to talk about laws in parenting, is there a point to where we have to step back and go, is it abuse to give your children these things? Man, now that's a subject people don't want to hear. But we need to have that conversation. If we are serious about a healthy generation, making children healthy, getting them away from lifetime bad habits, and there comes a point where we have to go, hey, do we need to restrict their access to these things? And that's a very uncomfortable subject, and I don't know that is the answer. Okay? But it's a conversation to have. It's illegal to give your children other harmful substances. We know what the net harm is here. Okay? We know what the net harm is. And whether you accept that harm or not, the leading experts do. And again, I don't know that that's the way we should go with that conversation. It should be discussed if we want to go that way. I'm not saying we should, because again, we do come down to basic rights and freedoms, and that I'll agree with. And we have to be careful not to compromise that. But as far as the schools go, that's public domain, guys. We can absolutely make it illegal for schools to provide these things, or vendors or anyone else to bring them into the schools, other than the kids bringing it themselves because they're parents. And I would like to see that happen if we do anything with this initiative. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.